And for Off the Block, I'm Vinny Lopes, and we are now joined by Coach Mark Pavlik, who took a break from the bitter cold weather to enjoy some sunshine in California, as his team's on a West Coast road trip, and they've started off well with a big victory against number 7 USC, and now they're going up against Cal State Northridge and Long Beach State. And Coach, you got two big non-conference matches this weekend. What's your thoughts on those two matches?
Well, I think coming up, it's more along the lines of making sure we keep doing what we've been doing for the last 2-3 weeks in the training gym, and hopefully it translates against the good teams that we're going to face here this weekend. So, I just think it's really more about us than it is about who we're playing. Let's make sure we're on the right track. Let's make sure we're doing things the right way, and if we are, that's great. We'll be in a good position, but you also got to tip your hat to the guys on the other side. They train hard too. So I just want to make sure we're in matches doing the things the right way and kind of continue what we've been preaching the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, and kind of talking about your team, obviously it seems the last couple of weeks you guys have started to string together some victories. Just kind of take us through, from your point this season, what has it been like for your players, finally, they haven't lost their confidence, but just to finally see the fruits of their labor pay off and gain some victories these last couple of weeks.
Yeah, I think that, I'm really proud of their resiliency. I pretty much crushed them with the scheduling that I handed to them at the beginning of the year. And then once we got through the first 6 matches with all the travel and then with the great teams that we competed against, then we started to get some injuries and we had to reshuffle some people. But the guys have never really lost any confidence in themselves or their teammates. And I can honestly say that they're coming into practice ready to go, and the training that they've been giving us has been something that I think is really going to pay off for us, or starting to show some dividends right now over the last 2-3 weeks. So these guys have just really kind of made up their minds as a team that we're only going to control what we can control, and their attitude and effort has been outstanding.
Yeah. And just going off that, from your standpoint as a coach, does this have a potential to be maybe one of the more rewarding second halves of a season that you've had with the team, just given the fact that the team really has remained resilient despite having a little bit of a slow start?
Well, I think I understand what you're saying. Oh, yeah. And, if I could look into my magic ball right now and see where we wind up, that makes my answer to you a little bit easier.
Yeah.
I can say right now that I'm feeling really good about how they're approaching things on a day-to-day basis, and that's one less thing that I think Colin and Jay and I have to worry about is, hey, what kind of mindset are they in? Are we going to that in and of itself has been rewarding. You put these young guys in a situation that that they're not comfortable with, or they weren't expecting, and not meeting expectations. But to see them, what they do every day in the gym, and how they carry themselves, and what they do for their teammates, I think more than anything else, that's been rewarding through this point too.
Yeah. And, Coach, I'm going to take you back to 2 nights ago. You were able to beat USC, and you look at the stat line for Erin Russell in that match, and it was just absolutely insane. 21 kills, hit more than 700. As a coach, what is that like for you when you're on the sidelines and you're just seeing your player having one of those type of nights?
No, I think that's everything that you wish for all your players. They all work hard, but, and not just our guys.
Yeah.
But, I think as a coach, you want them to feel the success and have everything translate from the hours that they put in the weight room, watching video, and certainly the blood, sweat, and tears that they put in the training gym. And, it's when everything starts clicking like that, and Aaron will be the first to tell you, he couldn't have done it without Taylor Hammond, who I thought set one of his best matches of his career, without Connor and Chris Nugent and Aaron himself passing, but boy, you look at 20 kills, 2 errors, and 25 swings, and when you realize one of those errors was he was called for will do that. I mean, we were on the opposite end of that in 2010 in the NCAA championship match when Lawson went off, and I think he only had one error, and that too was a foot fault on a acro bix that he had actually planted. So, you hope you're around where some of your guys get the opportunity to do that, and Erin certainly did.
Yeah. And, Coach, looking forward at your upcoming match against Cal State Northridge. I know you've had a little bit of an opportunity to look at some film against them. What has stood out the most for you just in scouting this team?
I think they can be very physical. Faulkner is really, you talk about training and getting better and better over his career. I think Greg has really done some nice things for Jeff Campbell's team. They get him a ball, and he gets his approach and his jump. I'm not sure there's a whole lot of people that can control him up in that airspace that he's in. Sam Holt has gotten better and better, and I think Sam's controlling the ball really well right now. You can't say enough about the job I think Travis McGorry has done with their offense also. He's kind of come along with those guys, and I just like the way he understands what his hitters can bring him. So, we're going to have our hands full with them, and hopefully we can control what we can control on our side of the net, and, make them play and not give them very many easy points, and let's see if we can stretch the game out to where they have to earn 25 instead of earning about 16 or 17 if we make those errors.
And, Coach, before I let you go, I want to ask you two a little bit more broader questions. The first one being, the first RPI rankings are set to come out March 23rd. I just want to ask you, as a coach, are you a little bit intrigued with, how the RPI rankings are going to come out and where you guys could be, just given the fact that this is the first year that they're going to be releasing the rankings in season?
Ben, since you just mentioned it, that's really the first that's come to mind. My history has been so long without something like that I'm not looking at it saying, I wonder what. I think it's really simple. You put together a tough schedule, you try to win as many of those games as possible, and you let the chips fall where they may. And I really don't know, and it's going to come into play if we can be fortunate enough to get out of the EIVA and have the NCAA committee look at us as one of the six. But you got to play everybody anyway. So I'm not overly anxious about it or worried about it. It's probably going to be one glance and saying, that's interesting. Now, what do we got to do for practice today?
Yeah, definitely. And final question for you, Coach, before we let you go, talking a little bit about the end of the season. You were named, or you were appointed the chair of the All-American Voting Committee for the AVCA, and, I was just wondering if you could take the fans a little bit, just kind of through the process of what it's like for a bunch of coaches sitting down and deciding who should be the All-Americans for a season.
It seems like I've been on this committee forever, and I can honestly say that the grouping that's done where you try to have three coaches from each of the conferences, and now that Conference Carolinas is out there and they're getting more national play than ever before, we're going to have coaches that have seen guys play at some point or another. Maybe we've not seen, nor will we see anybody from UCLA live, but there are other coaches that have, and it is one of the best groups that I've worked with in terms of doing it for the right reasons. And, no matter what the distribution of players come up on which teams, you can put those names in the can and roll them out again, and they can come out differently depending on the group that's there. And, I think we've gotten the right people over the years, honored. I think that there's been no agenda, and it's easy to say that from the inside. And I know when those teams come out, the fans and everybody starts, well, what about this? What about that? They must have liked him, and I don't think that comes into play. I think we all take a look at the numbers in front of us. We take a look at the body of work over the year. We see how how their teams have responded with them, without them. You know, I wish I could say it's a science, but it is not. It's more of an art. And the good thing is the discussion that ensues by the committee is very rational, very progressive, and I think the overall goal of the committee is to get the right people being honored for their efforts over the year. And, you know, you can't honor everybody, but I think we've done a very good job over the course of the years that I've been on that committee, getting the right people